Okay, we can boogie on. So, hopefully everybody's doing good this morning. Hopefully everybody's got their coffee ready to go. I'd like to kind of start a new segment for mentorship with not enough butterfly effect 2 being out yet, although it is coming, but you know, we're not quite there yet. And I'd like to start a new segment, and I think can be really helpful. It kind of hit me last night when I was just watching the chart raiders replay the stream replay, and I saw it and I thought, wow, you know, these teams, they've taken all the same level, and really that's pretty powerful, and really to get everybody kind of at that same moment, I think would be great, because I think something very specific and clearly communicated happened on stream yesterday, which was like, whoa, look at these awesome traders who have gone through mentorship and are now a part of a team, and look at how they've all taken the exact same level. So I'd like to analyze some of the trades they got in and the reasons behind it, because I think no matter who you are, whether you're on a team or not, the decision would have been the same, right? So to go and look at their decisions they've made and analyze them together, I think it opens people's eyes to these kind of positions, because really at the end of the day, when you look at this and you're saying, hey, you know, there's or I think it was a 15-minute origin, but everybody had it marked out, which was brilliant. It's like, here's a 15-minute origin. How do you take that trade, right? That's, you know, outside of chart raiders and just speaking to mentorship and the learning lessons, I think this opens up a good opportunity to review those trades and allows people to understand why people got into them, and really people should be at that same point, right? So I think this opens up the opportunity for a pretty amazing new thing we can do in mentorship here. We were hoping for this. Yeah, I think it goes without saying that, like, again, everybody got into this trade. So this is a testament to mentorship. It's a testament to how I teach the science, and everybody should be there. So if we take these really interesting moments and we really dissect them and talk about, okay, why did people enter this trade? Why was it so smart? What was the best way to handle the trade? And then just go into a bit of a deeper dissection of some of these things that are happening, you know, during the weekly streams of chart raiders. I think it's very valuable, and I think it will help grow people faster than anything I can think of at the current moment, with the exception of butterfly effect 2. But that takes time to develop. It's not a quick overnight thing. That takes, you know, a lot of time to develop. So yeah, I think this is the smart thing to do for sure. I'd like to start this out with kind of a few of the team members just saying why they took this level and what it was for them. And I'm pretty sure everybody agrees it's the 15-minute, but you know, any deeper insight as to what was justifiable there, you guys feel free to put in chat, and just kind of, you know, through the teams or people who took this trade, because I'd like to come to a general consensus by the end of this, of this is the level, this is why it was a good trade, and this is how you handle it. So I'm going to kind of go ahead and do my talking thing about this level and talk about where it moved and how the trade could have been managed and handled. And you know, people can use the chat as well, teams and non-team members who may have taken it, to kind of build out the perfect scenario, right? Like, we're using this opportunity of this origin level to build out the perfect scenario going forward, which again, I think is going to help everybody, because it's just, you know, you're starting to really dig into the exacts of a trade, right? And you see this thing repeat over and over, and you know, pick an origin level on the chart and that's what happens. So I'm gonna get a water before we start, and actually, you know what, I'll be okay. I'll wait for the water. We'll just start. Okay, so, you know, at a first look, whenever you're looking at these ladder points, you know, you could do it here too and say, oh, you know, there's a ladder point right here. Could that be the spot that an origin creates in the future? Like any time you're looking at these points on the chart, you know, understand that first off, an origin represents polarity. It represents breakout in the biggest way. Of course, we already know that it's the most polarized part of the move. And so you could do this and just kind of hide everything on the chart, right? You could hide everything on your chart and say, okay, so how do you start this? Where do you kind of start building out this expectation? So we're looking at a range, very normalized inside of the move right now, exactly what Bitcoin has been doing for the past, I don't know how many days now. I guess it would be 10 or 11 or 12 days or something. Yeah, we're going on 12 days. Bitcoin has kind of been stuck in this range. So you have to always, like we went over this last week, like defining the first part of the move. Like this is one-to-one what we did last week. We said, you know, here's this part of the move and here's this part of the move. Oh, you know, not quite exactly, but this was the, you know, let's define a box, a range something can live in. So it sounds like people really took that to heart, which is important, you know, because these are our daily, everyday, day-to-day trades. You know, you can go back here and, you know, mark a weekly level and you know, say, oh yeah, great, we've got this down here and there's a nice floating level on the weekly, and that's perfect. This is like the perfect buy spot, and that would be true, but waiting for that could be, yeah, you could be waiting quite a long time. So, you know, I don't want to focus too much on exterior. We just define a box, and, you know, inside of that, where we take these trades. So, you know, understanding polarity is the first important thing, and we'll go back to that for a second here. You don't really have any polarity in terms of origins on the bottom side. You have kind of a move that's been laddering. So, you know, this had a reverse level. It hit there, and it looks like that created that origin level. So that's pretty easily identifiable at this point. You know, you've got the 4-hour break level, and then you've got the body of the candle. You've got the actual reverse level, which was never tested, but this is now all tested. So this is gone as a reverse level, and I think this is what establishes your origin. So if we were to go back to this, that's kind of the first piece of this puzzle. There's no hourly origin. You could have possibly had one here over time, but that broke down and went to the greedier part of the move. So just defining the origin, right? And then so fine. The next origin you have could be this one right here. Like it could have been this in the moment. So they were actually all origins, right? So like this was an origin. It broke down to its next range. This is the origin now. So that's something kind of important to understand here, that, you know, this was at first the origin level, right? And that couldn't hold and it broke down. And then furthermore, it's the same one as this 15. So that 15 and that hourly kind of acted in the same grouping there. And so this is why you wouldn't use the 15, or why you can use the 15 or the hourly, whichever one you decide to use. I suppose you would need to use both in this scenario, seeing both time frames, because it could be indeed the 15 and, you know, the 15 hard closes, and it goes and it simply establishes its next origin off of this reverse. So where it got created is pretty easy to find, right? Like if you go back and look at the 4-hour reverse, that's where it got created for the future. So that level's tested, it will no longer be tested in the future. So that's pretty important to, again, to identify, to understand that is a tested level. So don't expect it to come down and, you know, do something here. Maybe at the best it can create another range, maybe off this 4-hour origin here. There's some kind of, you know, maybe there's like a reverse level hidden inside of this range. So if you were to go and break this down, and you could say, oh, well, first we have to mark the right candle. You could break this down and you could say, okay, well, here's this, and then here's the hourly right here, and that's great. And then you can go back to your 4-hour, and then maybe it can create the origin off of this by you'd actually want to go deeper than the wick. So we actually have to keep going. So the hourly is not enough. Where was that 4-hour? You know what? Let's mark that 4-hour again and make sure we're moving forward in time. Let's not be too premature with this. That's the 4-hour right there, right? So you can be all the way down here, actually. You could be at this right here, right? So it looks like that's already been testing. But let's move down one more time frame here. It could be here in the 15. This could possibly create the 4-hour. Yes, it can. So it could test this level, hit that 4-hour, create this as the origin in the future, right? So this is kind of important to see, that these origins, they can be created and deeper in the range, right? It could also be the backside right here that's tested, right? Like that's what you're seeing here tested through. This backside is being tested through, but really the key here is to create that polarity. So it could be the backside, it could be the lower level. I think in a case of 3 scenarios, it's the backside here. Makes the obvious choice, because, you know, it might go a little over, it might just hit it perfectly. And then you're really creating that same scenario where you have, you know, that origin being created, right? I believe it was this one, right? I don't remember which one it was actually, but it doesn't matter, because, you know, it's whatever one rejects, I suppose. Just go forward a few candles here. Yeah, so it is this one indeed. And then, you know, you can go up in time frames, and you have the hourly right here, right? But this, you're more likely going to create the 4-hour, as it is all within that same candle. It's not likely that you're going to create the hourly and then the 4, although it can happen. I think I would be looking more towards the 4-hour level. So this kind of becomes an obvious spot to look for, especially when it's rejecting over and over. So then there's a decision to be made here. Let's get a little more forward in the charts. You know, now there's kind of a decision to be made. if this origin is going to continue to hold, what's going to happen is at some point it's going to start laddering off of its move. Like it's going to use this to ladder, or actually it would probably more likely use something in here. I'm assuming it would use something right here on a smaller time frame. It looks like there's an origin, localized origin move that broke, and you know, if it's going to start laddering off of this origin and moving up, it needs to at some point start laddering this move, right? You're not going to have too many options for trends here that can hold this up. Or if you were to find them, you'd have nothing interior here, really. Nothing interior right there. You'd have something possibly like this on the hourly, right? You'd have, you know, it would start here and it would, you know, break to here, and then you'd follow your trail. You know, you'd be right here and that would break. So, you know, at this point you'd be here and that would break, and so you'd be right here. And I do believe there's some people who had this on stream. So this would really be where you need to say, okay, this origin is no longer being attacked, where we're starting to support the move. But no, it actually doesn't happen. So you're trying to find this trend because it has to be able to hold it up at some point, right? It could even be like this, and that would be more global. But you know, you could go 4 to 4 here. And that's fine too. Come on. There we go. And that's fine too. The trend work is not really going to give you too much to back up on. I don't really think the trend work is what's important here, but you can have the trend, and that's perfectly fine. So going back to yesterday, this is kind of the spot of entry for everybody, right? And so you've, okay, fine. You have your trend, you have the origin level. The important thing here is at some point you have to use this part of the move to ladder it, right? Like you have to be able to ladder the move somewhere at this point. Again, it is still laddering here, but you can't keep attacking this origin, right? You have to continue. There's only so much room left in this thing. You know, if you were to go back to here, I kind of highlight a point. If you're going to go back to here, you know, there's still 0.5% that you could ladder off of this level. I guess I should measure down, not up, right? Because that's going to be slightly different. There's only 0.5% that you can measure to this level. Come on. There's only, you know, 0.5%. At this point, you know, it's diminishing, right? There's only so much left you can ladder off of this. It's why the ladder is so important here, right? At this point, you're getting pretty thin in what's left in this move, and this really represents how you have to ladder this origin. And so that's fine. It is laddering. But the next test either pretty much hits it dead on or breaks straight through it. There's not a lot of in-betweens, which starts to open up the you know, possibilities of things like this holding the move, right? That holds the move, and you know, move forward, and this holds the move up, right? So you're starting to maybe it was something a little deeper. Maybe I guess it was something a little deeper in the move that held it up. Something in the back of here, maybe. And possibly an origin level that got created. Yeah, the origin right there. 5 minute, the highest time frame. Not broken and hard closed. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind that as long as there's an appropriate level there. Right, something has to start laddering this move, and it's quite as simple as that, right? Like something has to start laddering this move off of this origin. So, you know, I'm going to stop my rant to see what people are saying in chat and why they took that level. To me, okay, and I'm going to tackle a specific event that happened to Team Enigma. Jude says, 15-minute origin, max polarity for the range. We looked for confluence with hold levels, found the 3-minute greediest. Also had the larger 4-hour trend support, 3-point confluence. Yeah, so that trend that I added, that's the one you had, I think, Jude. That interior trend, right? This to here to here. It's the highest time frame trend we have. You could possibly have, no, I was going to say maybe the hourly. Maybe you can have the 15 here, but I'm less and less reliant on this trend here for this part of the move than I am here, because this bigger trend is going to break and it's going to overset this area here, because it does exist in the past, right? So if you were to use a trend from here to here, for example, it would be overset by this. So once you broke this trend wouldn't be usable anymore. So this would overset that trend, which is why I'm pretty sure you're talking about this trend here. But again, I think the trend work is the less important piece here. Yep, the range trend, exactly. Confused, arrow up, good. 15-minute origin, holding the move up off polarity. If it starts a hard close, back to 26k or below. So critical level on larger time frames. Also smaller time frame holds there. Yep, good job, I see. Exactly. Late bit hell. Hey JP, morning ready. 1 minute level. Yep, range trend, yes. Okay, so the thing that's going on that's bigger than this is we again, it's that it has to continue laddering its move, right? When it stops laddering its move, it stops creating trends, even on the lowest time frames, even at a 1 degree angle. At least there's a trend to be had there that can further develop architecture going forward, right? So, you know, even as small as it may be, 1 degree has large implications. Think of the word butterfly effect. Butterfly effect was the purpose of that title, is small ripples in time, like a droplet that hits an ocean that creates tidal waves by the time it gets to the shore. Like small effects in time have major implications on the chart. It's why I called butterfly effect. So even at the point of having a 1 degree angle, you know, even something as linear as this creates the possibilities for large ripples in the ocean and the continuous development of more pieces of the chart. So you're literally tackling the question of, can it create, yes or no? And if the answer is no, then what that means is the answer is yes on the top side. Can it create from the top side? Yes. Because when the answer is no on the bottom side, it means that it's opened up an opportunity for a different chain of events to happen. So, you know, a shortcut way to look at it is that, can this create events? Yes. Okay, it can still be moving up. If this is flat, can this create events? No. But that means the exterior side can start creating events. That means distribution events can start to happen. So small effects, and that's really one of the keys here. So when we saw Enigma yesterday, Mark II levels, they had, I'll just take this one here. They had something right underneath it like this. And I'm not sure exactly how far they went down, but really the measurement here looks like this, right? 47. 34. There's a diminishing return there, not a diminishing return, but a collapsing of what is possible, right? Because there's a certain point where, you know, you couldn't have gone down here. It breaks the ladder. You couldn't have gone past the base of this data point, because that would break any trend points that it could hard close to. So that's very important to realize and very important to know. I haven't talked about that yet. If the base of what you've created, if a ladder point goes underneath that base, so there's 2 bases here. We have this and we have this, right? One can be your trend, one can be your actual level that's holding the move up. One is an entry and one is the possibility. If this were to go here, it could technically still be laddering off of this, but would invalidate any kind of trend adaptation. So that's very important to realize. Again, something I haven't talked about, so just take a minute to think about that. Okay, so when you have this ladder point like this, it means you need to start looking at different time frames. You need to start looking at different trends, because it's not that it can't ladder like this. It's that this invalidates a time frame by being a distribution candle like that. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing the difference between what can and can't go as a target for your ladder. If this was a blue candle, this is perfectly fine, right? Because you still have that degree trend, which still allows you to array events like this. Okay. If your base is here, it means you pretty much have to ladder over top of that. Otherwise, can't use that as a trend. Not that time frame anyways. So this is important to know. There's only a certain amount of spots that you can go to. So for example, if this was your trend, you actually couldn't deep dive down to this point, because it disables or eliminates the possibility for this to continue to create trends. So when you're looking at this, there's kind of a diminishing effect, right? How far can it go down based on laddering with trends? And that gives you where you can and can't go when you're looking at this move. So now we go to Enigma's spot where they were taking their trade. Don't know exactly where they took their trade. I'm pretty sure it was very close. If I want to say it's like maybe right here, right? So you know, the difference between getting in the trade for 4 teams and the 5th team not getting in the trade. Needed that nugget of knowledge there. Helps with stop losses. Yep, absolutely. There's a very deep set of implications behind what I just said, which I won't get into too much today. It'll be for butterfly effect 2 stuff. But anywho, that's not the important part of today. But to realize how far something can go against an origin is. So at what point does this make sense where Enigma's looking to take their trade? And I would love to know where they had their trade, what it was. Maybe it was something like this they were targeting. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look at what their target was on the screen. I'm going to assume it was this. So first off, before we go into that, like a trend is great, but it's never an entry, right? We always talk about trend, never an entry. And the reason is trend just has to hold. So like if you were ever going to enter a trend, you would want to be, if you're going after an origin, right, like you have to identify what's being targeted here, because how many times on the top side do we see something like, I don't know, for example, we're just going to use that 5-minute trend that we had. I think it was yesterday like this. I think that's what Arcane had. So we're just going to back this up and talk about 2 different trend scenarios here. A trend here is like, oh yeah, perfect entry. Why is it a perfect entry? Because why can't it be a perfect entry down here, but why can trend be a perfect entry up here? Like this is a pretty good entry, and you know, we can even just, maybe there's something here. I'm not sure. Maybe it hard closed on a different time frame. Maybe this can be further adapted to the one. That one hard close right there, is that a hard close? It is. So then you can adapt it here to try to break this move. So why is this a perfect entry, but this is not? Why can't this trend be perfect and this trend can be perfect? Because that's like a big thing that people don't ever stop to think about. Like trends can be perfect entries, but under what criteria? I want to wait for everybody in chat to answer that one, because I want to see what you guys think, guys and gals. Polarized? Nope. Confluence? Nope. It's not polarity? Nope. Trend angle shows strength? Nope. Local range trend? Nope. Down there, the origin target. Up there, that's an internal piece developing a move and was created and untested, so can stop the move. Close. Trends only have to hard close. Lower time frame trends have less leeway. Nope. High time frame trends can deep dive and still get respected. Nope. So there's something wrong with all these answers. The thing that they all share, and what I found out early on in my journey, the problem with all these answers is there's room for interpretation. There's always a very black and white way in which we look at things through math with the charts. So any statement that's open for interpretation can never be correct in the science. Triple Sam saying, because it's not a polarity moment like the origin, is not open for interpretation. So this could be right, however, it's not. So I want everybody to start thinking differently. I want you guys to think of, and it's, I will say that it is hard to think like that, especially when you are learning, because the learning process is a lot tougher. And it's easy and convenient to interpret things. So you just always have to ask yourself the question, is this open for interpretation? If it is, it cannot be right. There is black and white reasons, zeros and ones to everything that always makes sense here. So Kardik got it partially right. And Kardik deleted his answer and now is going to give it another crack, I think. I don't see Kardik's answer anymore. I think he's refining his answer. Unless my brain just doesn't work. Maybe it's higher up in the charts. No, I don't see Kardik's answer. He pulled a sneaky one on us. He deleted his answer. He was partially right. Trend angle shows strength. So gamma, that can never be right because it's open for interpretation. Well, what is the strength degree? Is 1 degree 1 point, 2 degrees 2 points? That would have to follow that rule religiously every single time. And we know that trends can break in sporadic moments and don't have that. That would be almost too easy, wouldn't it? Like, oh, just 1 degree is 1 point, almost like this perfect point system that you could create. That would be too easy. That's like close to indicator talk. So that one can't be right. If polarized, well, polarized part of the move is important, but polarity doesn't break every single move. So that's an important piece, but again, open for interpretation. Trend represents a time limit and constantly changing. So your entry is always moving. It was ICs. I swear to God, I saw that from Kardic's name. I'm like, so my eyes are playing tricks on me. Okay, so it was IC, not Kardik. Why did I read that as Kardik? I think I'm looking at pictures and I'm now getting the and I'm now starting to amalgamate all the teams as one opinion. I think working with teams too much now, I just see it as a team opinion. So for some reason, maybe I looked at Kardic's name and then okay, so it was IC. Okay, we'll get to that. Trend respects a time limit and constantly changing, so your entry is always moving. Well, this is correct. It can adjust your trend. Your time frame can adjust your trend, but I don't think that answers the question of why is this trend deep div and this one is not. I don't think that answers the question. Let's see what else we got. When a trend and hold level or origin are the same level moment. Not quite. Game for indicators gotten. Yeah. There's a very stark difference here. Let's see Ty. We'll do one more answer. Let's see what Ty has to say. Really get people thinking on this one. It's okay, Gamma. You're baptized in the digital science now. Clear laddering, nope. Well, there is a clear laddering, but that doesn't become the means to. Everything's always laddering against each other, no matter what time frame you go to. You go out of time frame, it's laddering. You go in time frames, it's not. Everything's always laddering. So there's a difference here. Nobody got it yet, and that's okay. It's about defining the target. This trend can deep dive. Let's go to the bigger time frame. This trend can deep dive because the correct target is here. This trend cannot deep dive. There's no origin or something else that would have been the target above. It could be a hold level that could create an origin. Let's go look at that for a second. Reverse levels are notorious. Oh, come on, trading view, don't do this. Reverse levels are notorious for that. You have a reverse level on your chart, it can all of a sudden create an origin off of a ladder point, right? So reverse level here. Let's go see if we have something that could create an origin. 2 candles here, that could create an origin. So this could possibly do it in the future. So that could be a spot where we deep dive to that target. Not there yet. Let's start with the 15. Let's make sure we don't miss anything. I don't want to have to go back through time frames because I'm being stupid about it. Nothing there. There's no 2 candles here. There's a 5-minute right there. So this could be a target. But there's no 2 candle valley there. So if there's nothing before this, that could be it. Let's go deep dive this thing a little bit. Oh, we got a 2 candle valley right here. So this is actually in existence before that 5-minute. Okay. What about 1 minute? Do we have any 1-minute stuff in here? 2 candle valleys? Nope. So we have the 1 minute, but we also have the 3-minute. So the 3 minutes is the time frame we use. So now we need to go back up in time frames and look at and say, oh, here's a reverse level that could create the origin. And if this tests here, you're going to have a difference between testing the level versus going over top of it and deep diving for an origin. So that's the critical difference here, is that the level here is the target, right? So when you're coming up to this move, you're kind of laddering here. Well, we don't have an origin there, so that can't really be the correct target. So there's a lot of really important information here. So please pay attention to this stuff. I'm going over like 3 or 4 different butterfly effect 2 concepts right now. Which reverse level is the correct is the one that can create the origin. And we'll talk about that. I'll say it one time. I'll let you guys think about that. It's another whole entire lesson in itself, right? So what the target is important. So origin here, trend can deep dive. No origin yet, trend can't deep dive. But this reverse level could be the difference between creating that or not. Nothing created. There was never a target. This tried and failed. Go back to that moment. Where is it? Here it is. Tried to create the origin here, failed to create it, right? That can no longer be an origin. Again, another thing we won't talk about, but something to keep your mind open to. So the difference here of why can't this deep dive as an entry versus this? Oh, sorry, this trend is the difference of understanding where your target is. And then that can't be, that now can't be created as an origin. So again, not something we'll talk about today. Just see it, it's probably just going to move through it. I think it might touch it, but we'd have to move up in time frame now. See how it's not trying to create it as an origin, it's just trying to create it as a breakout. Right? You'd have to move up in time frame now. Be here now. No, that doesn't work either. It's hard to close. There's no origin there anyways, it just becomes a target. You have something here that could create an origin? Maybe. 3 minute? Hard close? Yeah, no, that's gone. Maybe you have a 1 minute up there? I don't think so though. No, and I don't think we went as high as 29,589, did we? No. No, we didn't. So there's a huge fundamental difference there without getting too deep into a bunch of stuff. And then you can even take it, you know, another step further and say, where's the origin in here? Because that's the actual breakout up, right? So again, not getting too far into that. This is very interior in the move, but the difference here, going back to this 5 minute, adapted to that one. Oops. Is this can deep dive because it's not the target. This cannot. So this trend can constantly be entry short or break entry long. This cannot. This trend cannot because there's a target there for it. There's a lot of different stuff I just went over, a lot of different concepts, and I don't want people to run too fast with them, but you know, over time we'll get into it. Understanding your target is critical for two parts of this move with what IC had, or sorry, not IC, with what an Enigma there, I knew, and why they missed their target, right? We're gonna make this dotted. This just kind of represents, their entry. So where could you say the entry was? They said a 1 minute. I believe Shenron had said, was it Shenron or Marcus? Somebody said it was a 1 minute that they were trying to enter on. So let's take a look at why that would miss. They've got, were they going here? I think, let me look up in chat. I think they said it was a 1 minute time frame. Shenron, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, good. He's typing. He'll give us a little bit of clarity. Oh, you're talking about the later move. Okay. So there is an entry there that would have been missed. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a 3 minute level. I think it was a 3 minute level. Yeah, it's a 3 minute level. So they're looking right here for their trade, maybe at the wick of it, and maybe they just missed this. Well, the 3 minute level was tested. Maybe they had the body. I know they just missed it. We're going to zoom in and mark both of these. I'm having trouble marking it from that far away. I'm going to assume this is what Nuke was looking at yesterday. You got your origin here, 15 minutes. So we're going to make this, I use this color for 15 minute now. We're going to make this 15 minute. Okay. And this is the 2 3-minute levels. That's origin. Both of these are 3-minute, same level. One is the wick, one is the body. 4-hour trend, right? So we got 4-hour trend, 15-minute level. I'm not sure if I'm using this. Don't fall in love with this color. We're just using it for today. Anyways, it worked with the other color schematic, but maybe not this one. 4-hour level, 15-minute level, 3 and 3. All the teams got into this trade. I believe they missed it just as that. So the correct heads up play here would have been, there's no more possibilities going back to, you know, what's possible in this move and what's left. You've got your origin here, right? You've got 44%. You've got 36%. And in this moment, we have to do something different. What do we have to do different in this moment? Following the same trail of what I was just doing by marking percentages. What do we do in this moment? Because there's something very specific we have to do. This is where I left the puzzle. What's the next piece to this puzzle? What do you do next? Ladder. Need more than just that. That's not what I'm looking for. Although it is laddering, it's not what I'm looking for. That doesn't really fill in the queue of the next event to do by just saying the word ladder. You could either elaborate more. Could be something there, maybe not though. Depends, I suppose, in what you mean by laddering. Find the level. The ladder is the current move. And hold true to descending percentage. Getting there. We're warming up. I mean, it's clearly a story of laddering here, right? Like you have to continue laddering. We already know that from the angle of the trend. Reverse level. Not quite. In a way, it could be considered a reverse, but I don't think I would consider it a reverse. Well, what's the next chain of actions? So IC said, I'm not really sure what moment we're talking about. We're talking about how I've left the screen now. What is the next thing you would do? Justify a long-term move up. That would be important to have. So the next thing we do now that we've hit that 3-minute level is the next thing we would do is this. We'd say, oh, wait a second. We've actually measured to here instead. Right? So that's the next thing. In a way, it's laddering. In a way, it could be a bunch of things like that. So now we've identified that this range is being tested. We've identified this origin is being tested. We've identified the range is being tested, and we've identified that it's being laddered. So if that's the case, there can be nothing left below this level. We can't go after that 3-minute body. Well, you can indeed, but I think it becomes a lot more risky. I think it doesn't make sense when you start trying to go after that deeper target there. So you can no longer go underneath that because you've now established that. And you don't really have much left here, do you? Like, this is a pretty quickly diminishing ladder point, right? Like, this is a pretty quickly diminishing ladder point. So in a way, Rob was right because it would be the reverse level. But you really can't go under this as you've already established that kind of range test there. You can on a higher time frame. However, you'd have to have the information left to do that. So you really only would have one spot left to enter this trade if you did that. And I think this is where, if I remember correctly, Paradigm Shift re-entered the trade. However, I believe they entered it here. They weren't on the 3-minute level, but they entered it there. But you can see how the range is indeed continuously laddering. So that's also another clue for something. What's that a clue for? Have to ladder again, yeah. I think maybe this is what IC was getting to. So I would say IC would, and that's why I said, well, maybe what do you mean IC when you say ladder? Because that is for sure correct. It's just, you know, the depths of that statement can go quite deep, right? And the implications going forward now are pretty much this or break the move, right? Like you don't really have anything left. Like one of the important things to realize here is you don't really have anything left protecting this origin level. You know, at a point where you look at this and you say, whoa, look at this move, 40%. Boy, this thing could sure ladder a few more times really nicely. And indeed it can. It can ladder, you know, once or twice more, maybe even 3 times more, depending on how deep these ladder points go and where those polarity moments are. You know, if you've got a level down here, oh, it looks like you did, and then, you know, your next level was right here, you could ladder this thing 7-8 times, right? But once you start establishing those ladder points, like you're diminishing what the possibilities are. So I think Enigma misses this trade. They mark the body of that 3-minute candle, which is roughly here, and they missed the re-entry spot. So this would have been something where you have to realize that there is no more lower entries. If you're trying to enter this thing lower, you're basically shorting this or this and saying, I think we're going much lower. So at that point, you're not entering long here. If you're trying to catch something below this, yeah, you're just shorting from an inverse. You're just, you know, using whatever inverse is here to short the move. And you know, I don't think there's an entry long down there. So that would have been a misstep in handling the trade from Enigma, because they went too low in the move and then they didn't adjust the fact that, okay, this was entry. The 3-minute body can no longer be tested. We have to enter this trade now on the second touch of it, and stop looking to just keep lowering and lowering and lowering their move. Like the 3-minute body, maybe go even a little lower, and so forth and so forth. I think Paradigm Shift entered this trade in a good way. I think it was a bit high, their entry. I think their entry was a bit high, but it's actually, I'm not exactly sure where they entered. I don't even want to say it was a bit high. This is not a bit high. I think that's a really great entry. I would not say that. If Paradigm had entered all the way up here, trying to continue this ladder, I think that's too high. But I believe they entered on the origin again, which in my opinion is not too high. I think that's a good, safe trade. You know, if they entered there, too high for sure. If they've entered here, I don't think that's too high. The only thing we really have left in this whole entire chart is this and the ladder point. So, you know, next time you come around here, you test this and start hard closing under it, you may just be losing this move. If you test straight down to this origin and get back above this 1 minute, I'm not even sure if this retested again. It might have. No, it doesn't look like it does. No, it definitely doesn't. Because that was it. It was just that origin that was created. That was entry. So yeah, you go back to this move and you look at what Enigma's doing. Put yourself in their shoes, or your shoes, if you've been in the, if you're looking at this trade. Oops, put that back. And you're saying, oh, we just missed our trade, understanding that this and this is all the same test because it's the same level. So at that point, you have to start looking for, you know, your re-entry basically on the origin reverse or whatever this was originally. I think the origin is actually pretty okay here, which I believe that's, again, what Paradigm took. So an adjustment needs to be made there for anybody who's trading this to identify, you know, where the test exists, which is that area there, and when it gets tested, like, that's it, it's gonna start moving up. You got stopped out on the second test, so this helps a lot for not making that mistake again. Good old decycling, this is quite helpful. Yeah, I think dissecting trades is going to be a huge thing that we can do, because we saw it on stream on Chart Raiders where all 4 teams got entry and 1 team missed. So you know, yeah, everybody should have been looking at that trade and saying, whoa, origin point, great spot to take a trade, even if it's just only for 1%. That's what the teams did yesterday. They took this 2 times for 1%, and then Arcane took it for, you know, 2% or however long they stayed. And I'm not quite sure. We lost touch towards the end of the day. They had to leave and I was busy doing something else. So, but you know, 4 out of 5 teams executing perfect trading here. I don't want to say perfect. I want to say like very, very close to perfect. Profits are perfect, but you know, you look at your edges and say, well, I should exit it here, and we exited down here and it wasn't perfect, and that's all fine. Those are nuances that you work on. But at a minimum, people should have been entering this trade. And when they see that the origin is hit and it's going after this 3-minute, like there's nothing left below to go after. So you quickly identify, are we laddering above this? Can we retest this again, right? Are we taking trades up here, right? I think this is a really important, like everybody in this moment, in this room, should be at that same point where they marked it. Well, okay, I don't want to say they should be at that same point. People are still learning, and that's okay too. We do have some newer people in mentorship that they might not have gone through all of the videos yet, because it's a lot. Like it took Team Phoenix 17 days straight of 10 to 16 hours a day, so, or 8 to 16 hours, or however long they did it. Like it took them 17 days straight. So that's not fair to say everybody should be at this point. But you know, given enough time, everybody should have had this level on their chart and been taking entry, or at least been watching it to see if it rejects, to say, okay, we moved above this, where is entry? If you stopped right there, entry is going to be, you know, somewhere here, because that's establishing that ladder point right there. Like you can't really go under that. You know, if you go under the ladder point, you can rebuy the origin. It's kind of going to be the final test. And then even moving forward, like we don't really have anything left in this trade. So now a hold level, and probably the larger time frame hold levels that are developing, like you may see something like this happen where, yeah, okay, hourly hold level develops here, and then, you know, come back for your test sometime in the future out here, come back here, this hard closes, right? Something like this happens and it mount straight down, right? Like you no longer have the luxury of saying, oh, let's enter here. This is kind of gone, right? So now even looking forward into this move, identifying those higher time frames, or maybe there's a 4 hour, like maybe that's, well, we don't, well, actually, okay, maybe we should hit play before we say we don't have a 4 hour. We do have a 4 hour, you know, get over top of this, right? We go over top of that. And then, you know, sometime in the future, we, you know, we lose this trend, and that's the level at the same time. Like that's the moment, right? So, and that's being preset by this, because we don't really have anything left. We don't, it would be really quite something else if we came out to this moment and we came here and we went down and hit this as one final move. That would be quite something to see that. Or the other scenario happens is actually this goes below it and breaks the move, but doesn't break the move. That's a complete rip in the other side, right? Because it's like a failed origin. That origin has held. That origin is not hard closing, it is held, right? So that's, you know, the development of a much larger trend, because then something like this would happen at that point. It would go here, and this would go like this, developing a larger move. So, you know, upon one of many things that could happen at this trend, but this is where my thoughts would immediately go, like, oh my God, this thing went below its ladder point and move up a time frame instantly, or start your trail all over again and be like, oh my God, we just created a crazy trend. This thing's going to hold. And then in the future, you know, well, we can't move forward anymore, but you know, this trend comes up much past these levels. And then when that breaks, it's obviously an even bigger move down. But for now, you know, this was a possibility yesterday, because you still have that levy in here. You still have that room to move against this origin. And then identifying that it was a 3-minute level that got tested, body or wick 3-minute, all the same, gives you your opportunity to enter your second trade as well. So having that second test there. Yeah, okay, maybe had you gone down, you know, where can you say this thing can go? And now you have to start measuring trends too, like what's possible. We just said, which we're not going to get into today, but okay, so say you can go down all the way to here. Fantastic, man. You go all the way down, and then maybe at that point you can, you know, reverse that deeper level, and then maybe you can go one hit, second hit on the body of the test, and then in the future you could have a third test down here, but that's not what happened, right? Now moving forward, there's a very linear dissension of what's allowed in this trade. Like that's important, like what's allowed. This is again very linear dissension of that. You took 29,350 for your profit. Oh, you caught that. Good job, dude. I think it went a little higher, but you guys took 29,350. Great job, Arcane. Because I think Arcane came out on top yesterday. You did go higher, but not by much. Not for that is literally the perfect exit. That's like picture perfect exit, because the rebuy is your next 2%, right? Yeah, that's another 2% is your rebuy. So that has to be perfect, especially when it dumps down this hard. If you were holding it right now and it moves up, I still think that's the right exit. This is just the right re-entry, but yeah, probably sleeping then. Doing this going forward is easy to help teams fix leaks and the others learn from their leaks. I think this is, and this is why I'm doing this. I think it's extremely valuable to watch live trades and to dissect them back, especially when they're so clear as to where four out of 5 teams, and the 5th team, Enigma, they tried to get in this. They missed it by just a hair. So you have 5 out of 5 teams taking the same level. You've got the agreements of 25, 30 people, and they were all right. So everybody, whether you're trading on a team or singularly, you know, this is extremely helpful for sure, because it shows and dissecting the move and understanding how we can react in that moment, and how, you know, what are the things that are going through our head when this happens. Okay, it just tested. We are putting ourselves in the shoes of Enigma. Okay, it just tested. We didn't get in the trade. What can we do next, right? What can we do? You can start adding trends, right? You can start doing your trend work. You can start having, you know, this decycling of trends. You can think of, okay, what's my next entry point on this thing? Okay, we need to break this trend. We're not there yet, so we can still enter. We haven't broken the trend yet, so there's still an opportunity for entry. So where can we enter? Let's even just say, okay, we haven't broken this trend. This is compressing us down. So if we stay under this, there's an entry there. And if it holds, we can hold through trend, right? And you can start going through time frames and saying, okay, well, we got the 5 minute here. We got an origin here. So we might want to just not break above this one here. Okay, good. Is there a cause for re-entry? Looks like we missed our first re-entry. That's your 1 minute chart, right? That's your 1 minute level. Okay, well, we didn't take entry here. No big deal. We hit our 5 minute. Are we going to continue to move down now? Yeah. Okay. There's the entry just down there. The trend is holding. Now your entry can be here. Now you can get out of your 1 minute trade because this is holding. Get out of your 1 minute trade and you can start to justify that lower level. That's where paradigm shift enters right now. So you're in the trade. And you're sitting here thinking, okay, we've got to start developing shields. We got to get above this kind of thing right here, back here. We got to get above this one right here. We've entered the trade. We really got to start getting above this. Okay, good. We can move it here. We're in the trade. We've justified the means to enter the trade. We've developed a shield. This is extremely polarized. There was nothing left. There's no room for error here. Like there's nothing left below this. You've got a few minutes that you need to establish your shield, and that's it, right? Like that's it. You've got to continue to hold this level now. We've got trend. Let's go to that 5 minute time frame. See if this is starting to break. We're up at this again. Okay, the next kind of point of compression is here. So if this rejects us, you can have two. You could have this and this. They could both. You could, you know, straight body this and then reverse this. You could go after this and invalidate this, right? You could do either. Has a little pullback there. Fine. Breaking over trend, back testing to hold it. So now you've got this 5 minute level here is holding. Okay, good. You're testing that origin. Good. We need to break above that. Kind of have to follow that 5 minute trail now. So you really don't want to hard close under this. You don't. And you start to break that move up, right? You still need to hard close over top of this. But now you're kind of in this. This is already tested. So maybe at this point you'd have to go super local and say, okay, well, here's a backside here. So, you know, you could go here. That's tested. So maybe the greediest point we could go is here. We don't really want to lose this. We lost that. Not great. So where are you at in this trade now? Still in the trade. Back down to your 5 minute. Not much left here. Can I get over one of these 5 minutes? Oh, right there. Good. You've established your next point. You go lower time frame again, right? Start going down into moments like this. Really need to get over top of this origin. That's the key here. Like this level down here really needs to break out of this range. We have broken our first trend, right? So now can we make a 15 minute? No, there's no 15 minutes. So at this point, now we have to adapt this to the 5, right? Next, the break on the 3 will give us what we need. There's that break on the 3. Did this hard close that 5-minute origin? It did. So this is now gone. This is now gone. You can just readapt it to the 5, and this is the next part of the cycle, and I'm sure it follows this. Yep, right up to its next part. So, you know, that's fine. Going through all that is fine. It's just working with shields and time bombs and, you know, whatnot in the moment. But then really the key here is that retest. Like, where does that decision exist? Oops. Where does that decision exist when you take this thing back to here? Where does that decision... Oh, that's weird. That changed. Where does that decision exist to get into this as a second entry, right? Like, how do you decide that as your second entry? Because you've got to go back in time, and when you miss entry on the trade, you've got to do your job from this point, saying, is there a second entry or not, and should I take it? And I think this is where a lot of teams got it right yesterday. A lot of teams took profits right exactly here, around 80%. I think most of the teams, you know, went after this body or went after this inverse, and literally all four to five teams took profits on that trade there. 4 to 5. So that was fantastic to see. But that second entry is where Paradigm shines so bright, and where Enigma had an opportunity to enter the trade. I believe Phoenix got in the trade. Arcane stayed in their trade. I don't believe this was 2 separate trades for Arcane, but put yourself in the shoes of the 2 polar opposites. The team that traded it perfectly was Paradigm, where they took their first set of profits and then they locked up the second entry perfectly, took their second set of profits. Obviously, they exited too fast, but that's not the point. The exit is the criteria of the team's decision. Every single trader is, that's your own exit criteria is fine. The thing we have to ensure is profits, right? So Paradigm misses the first, or so Paradigm hits the first trade perfectly, takes profits, great. To their own dismay, to their own discretion, that's how they've handled it. And as long as they're in profits, perfect trade. Second trade comes, they see the same opportunity to ladder this move, they take the trade. 2 out of 2, where they made their mistake is not seeing the establishment of this longer term based on these ladder points holding. So at that point, this is where Arcane kind of outshined everybody, because these 2 ladder points establish, you start breaking over your, and this is where we saw in their charts too. They had, you know, great trend work. I think there was a few more candles here. They had great trend work, understanding that first entry profits, second entry is establishing the move, and you're starting to create bigger time frame information here, right? So Paradigm nailed both entries. Arcane nailed the comparative analysis. So Paradigm nailed the RA on this trade, risk assessing the moves and taking their profits. Arcane executed perfect CA and PA to flip this into a swing trade, and that's where Paradigm fell. Again, not a falling point. They locked up profits, but they missed a lot on the top. Arcane missed the double entry. Enigma missed it all because they were unable to identify the second entry. So no matter which group you fall in, you can see how analyzing this move after would show you kind of which part of the chart you really kind of stumbled on, right? And really interesting to see. And TA Mafia, they did a great job. Now here's another core component of this whole trade. They did a great job understanding the rebuy. I believe it was right here, and they took like a nice 50 or 60 or 70 or 80%. I don't remember how much exactly, but they understood the range rebuy. So they were understanding the PA after the CA had developed. So like the CA development here is where Arcane was shining, because they were able to stay in this trade, understanding the development of the CA here, turn it into a swing trade. And then they justified the further commitment of that move in PA. I would like to say it was a slight amount of CA and PA combined, in which allowed TA Mafia to take that re-entry because they missed down here, right? And that's great too, because there's also that spot for re-entry right here. And Enigma missing the first trade and not identifying the second. So Enigma missed on all fronts, right? So when you can kind of tie it to watching the exact scenario, you can see exactly where those mistakes are made, right? Which is really neat, because then it allows you to say, we took 29,350. We got stopped out on the second test. Yeah, Jude said, me too. Yep. So this is really should be very helpful for people identifying like how this trade unfolds in the different scenarios it can unfold, and where you would struggle, and where teams did good and bad. But that's not about the teams. It's about, you know, the trading decisions. It has nothing to do with the teams. We just use that word because we were watching them live, right? And we have kind of a baseline of 5 different scenarios to compare against.